For everyone coming in, we'll get started in just a few minutes. All right, it's a bit past Berkeley time, so we'll just get started. Yeah, so welcome to lecture number 11. I'm Isabel. Today we're going to be talking a little bit about basic UI UX, so a little bit of a break from coding. So just some announcements. The final group projects have been rearranged. Check the Google Sheet for your new group. I know some groups didn't get changed, but just check it in case yours did. The full stack social media platform is also due today. The project proposal is also due today, unless you are groups 4, 6, 14, or 15. So this will be our agenda for today. So we'll just talk a little bit about what design is, especially within a web development context. Also talk a little bit about what UI is versus UX. And then we'll just do a little bit of an activity as to like what UI is, what UX is, how we'll apply them. Then we'll talk a little bit about design and industry. Then finally, we'll end with a really quick Figma demo. All right, so let's just jump right into it. Okay, so what is design? Design is basically the foundation to products and solutions all around us. It's the instruction manual for developers, and it is the roadmap that allows us to achieve the goals of our site. Ultimately, when you have a product or a website, you have a goal, right? You want our website, for example, Facebook, you want to connect different users across the world, or maybe, for example, Airbnb, you want your users to be able to find a comfortable home. So basically, designers need to keep in mind what does our product want to achieve and what do we want our product to do. So designers must translate that goal into something more tangible. So now that we've talked a little bit about what design is, turn to a neighbor and ask them, have you ever interacted with or thought about design in any sort of context? I'll give you guys 2 minutes. Feel free to discuss. Okay, we'll just bring it back now. So now that we've talked a little bit about Whether you think that you've interacted, actually, okay, let's do a show of hands. Who thinks they've never thought about or interacted with design? Who thinks you have? Okay, yeah. So a good consensus that most of us have interacted with or thought about design at some point in our lives. So now that we've discussed that, let's analyze our phone as a designer. So everyone take out your phone. So I have an iPhone. So I'm gonna look at my phone in the perspective of a designer and talk about a few things that I noticed right off the bat. So first thing, when you pick up the iPhone, one thing that I noticed that is really cool is that right when you pick it up, the phone screen actually lights up. And I think that's actually super cool because 99% of the time, when you're picking up your phone, it's probably because you want to look at it. I mean, why else would you pick up your phone? Yeah, so I think Apple does a really good job of just assuming that users often want to be looking at their phone when they pick it up. So by lighting up the phone screen right when you pick up your phone, Apple takes away the need for you to even press the power button, which is a lot easier for people and also just a lot more convenient. Another thing is that when you're holding your phone, you notice that when you hold it, your hands or your fingers just so happen to land on the buttons on the side of your phone. Overall, the buttons are just really accessible because you don't have to reach your fingers too hard or too far, and also they're really easy to press. In the past, Apple did have their power button at the top, which at the time was okay, but as the phone size grew larger, it's harder and harder to reach the top of your phone with your index finger comfortably. So their choice of moving the power button from the top to the right side is pretty smart because when you're holding a phone, easily your thumb is right below and touching the power button, which is super convenient if you want to turn it off, turn it on. Yeah, and one great quote from Steve Jobs that describes design pretty well is that design is not just what it looks like and feels like, it's also how it works. So as you can see, iPhone is a really complicated object, and just from the first initial glance and impression of it, you can already see a lot of good features of good design. Okay, so now let's talk about why good design is important. First of all, design is the first impression of your product. It represents your product in the most easily judged way, visually and usability. Before your user is even logging into your website or opening it up or like clicking any sort of buttons, it's first gonna see your page, right? And that is the first impression that a user is gonna get from your product. So if it looks bad, or if it's not cohesive, or if there's something wrong with it, that's gonna be the first impression you're putting on your users, which is already really bad. And users can really easily just navigate away from your site into a different one. So you wanna be able to grab your users right from the visuals right away. And similarly, usability, same thing. Like, is it hard to find the homepage? Is it hard to find the profile page? Is it hard to log in? Is it intuitive? If it's too hard for users to use, they're gonna go to a different product. Yeah, and just in general, good design ensures users will have the intended experience of your product. If you want your users to use a product in a certain way, good design ensures that they will be able to use it in that way. So now let's talk a little bit about how we can achieve good design. Sorry, give me 1 second. So good design is user-centered. Ultimately, when you're designing a website or just creating a website in general, same with like any sort of product, you're making it for a certain group of people. For example, you're making it for students, you're making it for teachers, you're making it for software engineers or something like that, right? You want to make sure that your product and your website is tailored towards these users and they'll be able to use it well. Also, good design is accessible. Even though you do have these user groups and you're targeting your website towards a specific group of people, there's a wide range of people within this group. For example, within students, you have grads, you have undergrads, you have high schoolers, college students, so on and so forth. And your product wants to reach as many people as you can within this user group. And accessibility makes sure that you'll be able to reach as broad of an audience as you can. And that even includes the people, for example, people who are colorblind. So accessibility also includes whether or not colorblind people can look at your site. For example, you don't want to put red on top of green, or else colorblind people won't be able to see it properly. Good design is also seamless and intuitive. Again, you don't want your user to be confused when they're looking through your site. If it's hard for your user to find the homepage, to find the login, or they don't know how to scroll and navigate their page, they're gonna go to a different site. So seamless and intuitive is really important. And finally, a really important point is that attractiveness does not equal good design. It's often misunderstood that design is all about aesthetics, which is partially true. Like, design is about aesthetics, it's about how it looks, but usefulness and usability is also a really important part of good design. So good design is just a marriage of usefulness and also beauty. Okay, so now that we talked a little bit about what good design is, let's talk about some doors. So how do people feel about this door? Just, you guys can raise your hand or anything. Shout it out. Do you guys, yeah, go ahead. Okay, yeah. Okay. Does anyone feel confused about this door? Yeah, it's a little weird. Any other thoughts? So you're like confused whether you should pull or push? Yeah, no, that's a really good point. So this door, I would say, is an example of bad design. Like, we're a little confused as to how we should interact with this door. Like, is it saying no push, so we should pull? Or is it saying no, we shouldn't go on the left side, we should be going on the right side, and we should be pushing since it's green? But at the same time, we have this bar handle, which makes us want to pull. So overall, we're just confused. And this door is probably gonna, you're probably gonna have to have a few tries in order to open it. Which is really bad, because the whole point of a door is for you to enter or leave something. You don't want to be standing there trying to solve it like a puzzle, right? Okay, how about this one? How do people feel about these door handles?
So you wouldn't see the push sign, so yeah, it's too small.
Oh, yeah. No, the letters are really small. Yeah, that's a good point.
Like you mentioned before, that's like definitely a floating handle. Like if I grabbed it.
Yeah, that's a good point. Anyone else? Yeah, no, those are all good points. Yeah, first of all, the push is really small text. People who either like have nearsightedness, farsightedness, don't really know the difference, have like eye impairments, it's gonna be really hard to see that. And also the color difference between the background and also the text is hard to tell. For example, if you have color blindness, that's gonna be really hard to tell what the text is. And finally, the handle really makes you wanna pull. Usually it's easier to pull on something when you have a handle, and when you want to push on something, usually you want to push on it with your palm, right? It's a little weird to be pushing with like your fist. So having a handle there, and then also the contradictory text, it's just really confusing. So it's like, should I push? Should I pull? Do I listen to my gut, or do I listen to the text? Okay, finally we have this door. How do people feel about this door?
Really ominous with the lighting and like the emblem, they're so tiny compared to the rest of the sides of the door.
Yeah,
One door I want to walk
yeah, it does kind of look like a scary bathroom. Anyone else?
Glad that the door on the outside of the bathroom is like
So you're saying that you should be pushing it, so
You should be pushing it going out of the bathroom.
yeah, so I don't know if this is inside the bathroom or outside the bathroom. I think it's outside. But yeah, overall, this door is a little weird. Like, again, like the logo, like, is really small, and also, like, why are there two? Usually a bathroom only has one. So it's a little confusing there. And then also the handle is really high up. So that's inaccessible for people who are shorter than average or just average in general. Because we have a general height that our arm gets to before it's like uncomfortable, right? If you just raise your arm up here, like from here down is optimal door handle length. But this particular door handle is a little higher than that. So you're gonna be like trying to open the door from up here, like where your face is, which like is a little weird and uncomfortable. Like for example, looking at this door, your hand just naturally goes here. You don't have to like put your hand all the way here, right? So I'd say this is good design, but this one is not good design. Yeah, so now that we've looked at some really bad doors, let's talk a little bit about Norman's door. So just in general, it should be very apparent how you should interact with a door. It's pretty easy, right? Like you open it, you go in somewhere, you close it, or you open it again and you leave somewhere and you close it or something like that. Like it's really not that hard. But a Norman's door is a door that's difficult or confusing to use. And they can just bring about confusion and self-doubt as to how you should interact with it. Like, should I pull? Should I push? Like, which way do I push? Like, is it on the right side, left side? Like, a door is so simple, you shouldn't have to really think about it. You should just go up to it and know what to do. So this really makes us wonder, or think about artistic and creativeness versus being plain. Like, I mean, this door looks fancy and everything, and like, this one has a lot going on, and like, I guess you can argue it's creative, but is it doing its job? So in a sense, here, almost plain doors are better than creative and artistic doors. Obviously, if you can make it pretty, artistic, creative, while maintaining the usability, that's like the best way to go. But overall, we just don't want to be reinventing the wheel or reinventing doors. Also, is anyone team doors versus wheels? Show of hands, anyone team doors? Show of hands, anyone team wheels? Wow, I don't know a single person who's team doors. Okay, yeah, now let's talk a little bit about UI versus UX. So UI is user interface. UX is user experience. Now that I've told you what the acronyms mean, does anyone want to take a guess as to what they encompass, a little bit deeper as to what they mean in terms of a website? It doesn't have to be right. I mean, it's pretty intuitive.
So the user interface is more like how the website, like all the buttons and things are displayed, and UX is about like how the users gonna like it or not.
Yeah, you're almost there. No, UI is correct. It's how a website is displayed, all the visuals. While UX, yes, it is about whether or not a user likes it, but it's more about how they interact with it. So UI is user interface. It's the visual experience of your product, of your website. It includes the visual aesthetics, and generally, it's just how it looks. Some examples include colors, logos, spacing, topography, so on and so forth. Things that you can experience just with your eyes, just looking at it. User experience is the customer journey or customer experience, and it can encompass the user journey from clicking into your site from Google to closing the tab. So that entire journey encompasses user experience. And just in general, it is how it feels to interact with your site, your product. So one example is just like, yeah, how a user interacts with the products. Is it hard to find the homepage? What happens when you click a button, so on and so forth. Yeah, so even though there's two separate things, UI and UX go hand in hand. Your user research or user experience research should determine how your UI should be designed. Similarly, the way the UI is designed heavily influences the experience of your product. For example, when you're researching about your product or your site or whatever company you want to do, if all your users seem to really like bright colors, you probably want to include bright colors in your website. Or if they're like millennials and they like millennial pink or something, you should probably include millennial pink in your website. Okay, now that we've talked about what they are, let's talk a little bit about UI elements. So essentially what a website is a bunch of building blocks put together in an organized fashion to make it look nice, flow together really nicely. So what these building blocks are UI elements. And you want to make sure that you design them with intention and you make them consistent. So now we'll just go through what some UI elements are. One of them is fonts and typography. So this is a design of lettering, and it's like a particular set of glyphs that share a common design. Generally within your site, you want to have 2 to 3 fonts, not too many or else it'll look like a jumbled mess, but also not too little or else it'll be really simple. And there's a difference between sans serif and serif. Serif is basically curl. Sans basically means not. So sans serif is not curly. As you can see right here, there's no curls here. Serif, this one right here, as you can see, some curls right there. Yeah, and this also includes hierarchy. For example, is your heading text gonna be like this big or this big? Your text font, how big is that gonna be? Same with weights, which is like italics, bold, underline, medium bold, and size, just like how big is your text gonna be. We also have colors. You want 3 to 5 colors in a site. Again, same with typography. Not too many, it'll look like a jumbled mess. Not too little, or else it'll be really boring. And you want to make sure that your colors go together really, really well. Just in general, you can follow the color wheel, but obviously that's like you have to learn principles and whatever. So on the website, the Full Stack Decal website, there are some resources that can help you choose colors for your final project that are really easy. It literally generates colors for you. I really recommend checking that out. So you don't necessarily have to make your own palettes. And yeah, different colors represent different emotions and can evoke different emotions, as can be seen in this graphic right here. And yeah, colors also include contrast and accessibility, as in like what colors can actually be seen by everyone. Like same thing, red and green, you don't want those two things on top of each other. And contrast, you want to make sure that the text on top of the background is bright enough and contrast enough so that you'll be able to see it even if certain people's eyes are not very good. And yeah, on the right-hand side, we see a really good use of contrast here. The green on top of the beige is really contrasting, really easy to read. And yeah, the green and the beige just complement each other really well as well. And next we have cards, which are used to aggregate individual pieces of information in one place. Yeah, as you can see on the left-hand side, we have a card from Airbnb. So it has a house, the name of the house, and then some additional text. Right-hand side, we have some cards of testimonials. We have the testimonial, some information about the person saying it, and then a rating. Yeah, just in general, cards display different information for the same kind of information. Like in the testimonial one, we have different testimonials on each card, but they're different cards. Next, we have the Navbar, which is, I'm sure everyone's super familiar with, which is the user directory, gives you easy access to different pages and simplifies the flow. We also have carousels, which optimizes screen space by allowing multiple pieces of content to occupy a single rotatable space. So usually what you have is you have a set of different cards, which can be rotated through by scrolling or clicking some sort of button. Right here, I believe this is Nike. Yeah, on the left-hand side, we have a carousel by Nike with different cards of pieces of clothing. And then right here, you can see the button right here. Yeah, there's a button right there that allows you to scroll through the different cards. Same right here. We have different testimonials and a button right here that allows you to scroll through them. Buttons, again, everyone's familiar with buttons, I'm sure. Once you press a button, it allows the user to perform some sort of action, like signing up, tweeting, sharing on Facebook, confirming something. Yeah, pretty simple stuff. States, usually these are toggles which communicate the status of a UI element. For example, do you want keyboard shortcuts? Do you not? Do you want annual? Do you want monthly? Usually you just click it and then you go from one state to another. Yeah, pretty similar to buttons. Yeah. Forms, which allows you to collect a set of information from the user. For example, right here, you're like signing up to get some sort of demo thing. You input your work email, phone number, team size, and then you send it off and backend stuff happens, and then, yeah. But basically, you're inputting information for the database. Yeah, so we just talked about a ton of UI elements, but that list is actually not comprehensive. There are so many UI elements. For example, like images, like a lot of things we haven't gone into. If we keep going, we're gonna be here forever. But yeah, overall, UI elements, building blocks of websites. So now that we've talked about what they are, let's see some UI elements in a real website. Okay, does anyone have a site they would like us to analyze? A favorite site, a worst favorite site? GitHub? Oh my God, okay. Okay, let's look at GitHub. Okay, well, you guys get to see my repositories, but does anyone see any UI elements? I'll say one. Oh, sorry, go ahead. Buttons? Yeah, we have a button here, button here, button here, so many buttons. Toggles? Oh yeah, right here, we have a toggle for following versus for you. Sorry, did you say it's split into 3 different columns? Yeah. Yeah, no, it's very well organized into different spaces. We have different kinds of elements here, different kinds here, different kinds here. Any other elements?
Like the colors, like the contrast, so you can see the words.
Yeah, the white on top of the green, really bright and clear. Another, going a little bit deeper into buttons, there is such thing as primary and secondary buttons. For example, right here, we have a primary button versus a secondary button. So one is brighter and calls more action, while the second one is a little bit more muted, calls less action. Any other UI elements? There's one really obvious one at the top. The Navbar? Yeah, the Navbar. Almost every single site has that. Anything else? Yeah, the logo is one. Yeah, we have a lot going on here. We also have cards here, card here, text, consistent typography. These are also considered buttons up here. Shapes right here. Yeah. So as you can see, even GitHub has a ton of UI elements just in the home page. Yeah, okay. So now that we've identified some UI elements in GitHub, now let's look at some sites and let's combine UI and UX together. And now let's look at some UI and consider how does the site, how does a UI evoke a particular feeling in you? Okay, let's look at Tesla. This is Tesla's homepage. What are some adjectives you would use to describe the site, or what are some vibes we're feeling from the site?
Rich.
Rich? Okay. Yeah. Enthusiastic? Yeah, yeah.
Clean.
Clean? Yeah. All good adjectives. Speed? Yeah, that's a good one. Minimalist and open? Yeah, no, these are all really good adjectives. Do you guys feel like these are the kinds of adjectives that would describe Tesla as a brand pretty well? Yeah? Yeah. Yeah, I would agree so too. Like, Tesla ultimately is like marketing itself as like futuristic, as like the future of like automobiles or whatever. And just like clean and simplistic, and also like kind of like rich, as you were saying, like kind of like more like luxurious, I guess. So yeah, overall, all those categories, all those traits that you guys see in this site really well demonstrates Tesla as a brand. And like just looking at the way the UI is being laid out, the car is red against a really muted background. So immediately it's like, oh, car. And also red is like a pretty luxurious color, I would say. Like if you want to be modest and humble, you're probably not going to buy a bright red car. But them choosing a bright red car is also showing like some sort of status. Also, the Navbar, super, super simplistic. Same with the buttons. There's not a lot going on in this site. So it's showing simplicity and just letting the car speak for itself. All right, now let's look at Spotify design. How does this homepage make you feel? Yeah, creative.
I kind of feel like I'm distracted.
Respected?
Distracted.
Distracted? Oh, interesting.
There are too many colors.
Too many colors, okay. Anyone else? Yeah, okay. I would say like generally like pretty creative, bright, like just like makes you want to take some action. But at the same time, that is so true. Like a lot of different colors going on. We have a really bright red, bright blue, but at the same time we have these like muted pink and blue colors and yellow. So it definitely has a lot going on. But at the same time, this particular page is like their articles page or something. They could definitely do with more cohesion and also more accessibility. Like for example here, not sure, but it does seem like it might not pass accessibility test. It might be a little hard to read if your color sighting is not very good. But yeah, generally makes you want to like move and be creative. Would you guys feel like that's like a pretty good goal, or like what Spotify is trying to get at here? Yeah, generally, yeah. I think that's generally the goal because it is their Spotify design site, so they're trying to like evoke that creativity. Okay, now let's look at Craigslist. How does this one make you guys feel? Yeah, overwhelmed. There's a lot of text going on.
Sketchy.
Yeah, sketchy. Anyone else? Yeah, I feel the same way. Like, what is with all the text and like literally zero CSS? Like, why is, and plus, we're literally in 2022. Why is the site so ugly and looks like it's from like 2006? So already just like looking at it, it's definitely really sketchy and very overwhelming. There's like text after text after text, plus a bunch of random emojis, which is also a little unprofessional because like you're trying to look for services and like, I guess like products on this site. There's a ton of emojis and ton of text is a little sketch. And also like, if you're asking for like these services or at least a product, you probably want to see a picture of it. So it is a little confusing and hard to navigate, and just like it's hard to judge between what's the difference between the first one, web designer Christopher, and web design, website developer, WordPress 3 design. Like what's the difference? You can only tell the difference by the location and the date it was posted. So I would say, would you guys say this is good design or bad design? Bad, yeah. I would say this is pretty bad too. And generally, like Craigslist, you would say, is like not the first place you want to go searching for like something like some sort of product or service, right? I mean, it's convenient, I guess. I've never used it, but it definitely has some sort of sketchy connotation to it. And as you can see, based on the UI, it's pretty clear why. Okay, now that we've talked a little bit about UI elements, how UI elements play into UX, let's compare and contrast some websites, mainly compare. Okay, these are two home pages that look quite similar, even though one of them on the left-hand side is doing data stuff, like techie stuff, while on the right-hand side, you have a furniture store. Do you guys notice any similarities in the way the website is being laid out?
Like text, small text, buttons, and then something else like this.
Yeah, exactly. We have a block of text and a call to action, and then a picture on both.
Like the navbar isn't distinctly separate from the rest of the page. It kind of like there's like words, but it's not like separate.
Yeah, no, that's a good detail. I didn't notice that one. But yeah, Navbar is at the top with everything being horizontal. Anything else? There's a button here, call to action here, call to action here, logo here, logo here. Yeah, overall, even though these two sites have very different purposes, they're pretty similar in layout. Like all the boxes just show like the similarities between the two. Yeah, it's almost like they're a template or something. What about this one? Any similarities between the two? Maybe look at the text. Yeah, so we have a really big centerpiece of text that's like maybe describing the company or whatever. And then we have like these little elements, like eggs or whatever on this one, and then we have like cards here. Anything else? We also have Navbar at the top again, have a call to action down here on both. Yeah, logo again, call to action on the right-hand corner. Anything else? Yeah, that's pretty much it. Yeah, so again, a lot of similarities, even though they're completely different. Like this one's like a ripoff of Airbnb, and this one is like a portfolio, I think, of some photographer. Yeah. Yeah, so now that we've analyzed some websites, I think it's pretty clear to assume that websites are made of patterns and built on different elements. And just in general, like all these sites look pretty good, I would say. Like it looks nice, doesn't look like Craigslist. So just in general, like we don't want to reinvent the wheel. There's a format, there's a general way of how websites are laid out that work well with almost all users, and most generally people really like and are pleasing to the eye. But at the same time, like there's literally no fun in that. Like then what is the point? Like we're just gonna rip off a template every single time. Like there's literally no fun. Who would want to do this job? So the important thing is that you need to know the rules so that you can break them properly. Yeah, there are like right ways of doing things, and there are ways that work every time, but there are also ways that don't work every time that can work as long as you do it properly. So let's take a look at these examples. How do people feel about these websites? What's a little weird about them that's like not not conventional, I guess.
I don't know, those are buttons down at the bottom, and I guess I would make it, maybe that's supposed to be like the nav bar, which is at the bottom, there's no logo.
Yeah, really weird.
A lot.
We have a nav bar at the bottom, and it's also not centered at the right, left, or middle. Does anyone see a nav bar here? Nav-
I guess there are, but like you can't actually like, see them.
yeah, it's like kind of hidden, right? The nav bar, like I could see it because it's like really close to me, but it's actually right here. And it's vertical, which is a little weird, and it's tiny. Like looking at these sites, like it's pretty clear. Like, oh, right here at the top, like your directory, horizontal, yes, right there. But here it's like really tiny, vertical, and also like right smack dab in the center. Yeah, and this one right here doesn't have any images. It relies solely on topography. But the hierarchy and the way the topography is being used is really good. So they're doing a really good job here. Yeah, we'll just really quickly look at this site, which I personally think is really cool. Juicebox New Haven. I don't know if this is an actual place, but it's very interesting because like this isn't a typical site. Like you don't see the nav bar at the top. You don't see like your typical like text here, picture here. Right here it's very simple. Just a logo and then their slogan. That's it. And then also the cursor is an apple. And it's bright red. So how do we navigate this site? Bright red, in contrast, we have the blue, green, yellow. It's pretty clear. And then right here, we just like hover. That animation makes you want to click. So you click it, and oh, wow. Instead of completely wiping the past page, it kind of like turns like a book or like a menu. Yeah, super cool font, almost like really playful. I don't know what's going on there. Let's ignore that. Yeah, and the menu literally looks like an actual menu that you would get like physically from the location. And that's coming soon. Just in general, it's really interesting user interaction. Instead of wiping a page, it's almost like you're flipping a book, and it's almost like you're reading a menu. Yeah, so this one's pretty cool. How do I go back to that? What the heck? Oh, there we go. Yeah, so just in general, like there is no cookie cutter formula for web design. So how do I improve my web design skills so that I can make cool websites and not just have to follow a template every time? So design is all about a feel. You need to expose yourself to as many sites as possible and really think about whether you like them and why. And you want to translate your feelings into something tangible. For example, I don't like the site because it hurts my eyes. It's really bright. Or I really like this site because I like the animation of the hamburger icon. Or the pictures has a really nice contrast against the background. It's not enough to just look at websites and just be like, I like, I don't like, I like, I don't like. You have to actually think about what you don't like and why you don't like it. And same with liking it. Yeah, some sites to browse include Pinterest, Dribbble, Muesli. It's all on the website, so feel free to check that out. Yeah, so we'll talk about this really, really quickly. Design and industry. In the industry, designers must create graphics, features of your site and of the product, design a user flow. For example, what happens from user clicking the website to user closing the tab. Conduct user research, for example, what do the users want? How can we design something to be tailored towards them? And also communicate with developers and clients. And some industry standard tools include Figma, which is best for prototyping. And we'll do a really quick demo today, later. Also Illustrator, which is best for designing graphics. So in your final project, there is a design element that will be graded. And I know that the role is being spread apart among different developers like front and back end, which is great. So some things that you can do to up your design and are kind of necessary within your final project is to decide on colors and typography. What's your color scheme going to be like, and how is the typography going to play in with that? Again, this is super simple. Just choose a font you like and generally speaks well with what your product is doing. And then you can literally go on those websites that's on the website, the full stack decal website, like Coolers, and click through all the palettes. Like, I don't like this, I don't like this. Oh, this is one that we like, and just choose it. So it's really not that hard on that one. And then also designing a wireframe, like deciding what's gonna go where. Are we gonna have a navbar here? Are we gonna have a picture here? So on and so forth. And what will we include? Some general tips, again, take a look at other websites for inspiration. And you can also draw it out on paper and pencil before using a wireframe, or sorry, Figma. I did that with Up and Coming. Me and Kim, we just like laid out all the papers, drew our site on papers because we haven't used Figma in the past. And after that, we translated it to Figma. Still looked really bad on Figma, but it was our first time, so it's okay. Oops. Yeah, so now we're gonna go into a Figma demo. Who here doesn't have Figma downloaded on their laptop? Okay, we'll all go really quickly into how you guys can get Figma, but you guys will need Figma for not only the final project, but also for the next homework. So I highly recommend that you download it right now. Or you don't even necessarily have to download it, you just have to, what's it called? Make an account. So Figma is really nice and has an education plan. So go to figma.com/education. And once you're there, you can just get verified right here. Oh, well, it says I'm already verified. So I will log out and then I'll pretend like I don't have one. Oh, well, I guess you have to create an account first. Create your account, blah, 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 blah. Honestly, you don't need the Figma education thing right now, but I would suggest getting it because it's basically full access for free. So you make your account, blah, 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 blah. And then after that, you just need to go to figma.com and then your homepage dashboard thing will show up. Let me see. Okay, so we do that. And then you go to your files. Yeah, I think I recommend downloading it outside of class, but Figma also has a browser, so I suggest using the browser right now. Let's get a show of hands. Who has logged into Figma? Who has created an account? Okay, I'll give you guys like one or so more minute. Once you have created an account, make a copy of this Figma file. tinyurl.com/demofig. I'll quickly walk over the process on how to make a copy, which is going to be also really important for your homework. So once you get into the demo, I think you just need to click here. Yeah. So this is the demo. This is what it should look like. You just click the drop-down arrow and then press duplicate. And then once you duplicate it, it should pop up like that. I'll go back here. Oh, yeah. Oh, you don't have permission? Okay, that is probably my bad. That literally does absolutely nothing. Whatever. Okay, how about now? Try again. Oh yeah. Does anyone need help? I can go up there really fast.
I'll take the new URL.
Okay. New URL is tinyurl.com/figdemo. It should work now. No? That is so weird. What the fuck? We have a Piazza, right? Yeah. I will just post the link into Piazza and oh, I think I might know what the issue is. Oh, wrong one. I think, Bro. Okay, it has been posted. So if you click the link and it still doesn't work, wow. Sad. Okay, I think that probably means you have to download Figma Education. Or get, what's it called? Oh, or I'll download the file and then you guys can download it too. Or honestly, you guys don't even need this. Oh, I could just send you the picture also. That also works. And then you guys can make your own, what's it called? File. Okay, can everyone who has an account raise your hand? Like you can open Figma. Okay, can everyone make a new file? And let me know if you're having trouble making the new file. Should be this one right here, new design file, yeah. And then I'll just paste the picture in here. If it will work. But honestly, the picture isn't really necessary. Honestly, it's just like if you want it. You don't really need it. Okay, so if you want, you can copy and paste the picture that I uploaded into Piazza into Figma. Where is the keyboard? There we go. Okay, does anyone need help? Can you guys raise your hand if you've made a Figma file and are good to go? Okay, sounds good. So your homework is going to be to recreate a site of your choosing, or a page, like a screenshot similar to what I have here. So I'm basically gonna walk you guys through what you'll do in Figma for the homework. So there's not much confusion because it is honestly a little confusing at first. So feel free to follow along. I highly recommend that you follow along, but it's up to you on that end. So the homework, in your homework, you have to choose a site and you basically have to screenshot a page. So I've decided to choose the Facebook login page. I don't expect you guys to have like a really complicated page, but there are some like guidelines in the homework spec I recommend you to read. But the Facebook login page here is like a good amount of elements I suggest that you look for in your screenshot. So we're gonna recreate this in Figma. All right, so before we do anything, we need to create a frame. So a frame in Figma is basically like a container for your site, which allows you to prototype things a lot easier. So how we can do that is we press F. Does that show in here? Oh, that like shows really badly. Yeah, so you can press F or you can click this little frame thingy right here. And you click and you drag. And please let me know if I'm going too fast. We are a little crunched for time, so no worries if you don't get everything. So let's just try to make this frame the same size as this screenshot. Yeah, so great thing about Figma is that they have this like snap and lock feature. The red lines means that it's aligned with the top. And yeah, we can move this up and down. Yeah, let's make it the same size here. And now let's look at the width. Yeah, seems good to me. So now that we've created our frame, clearly the background color of both are different. Okay, first of all, is this keyboard helping anyone? Like, can you guys actually see? That's like, you can barely even see. Okay, I'm gonna just take it out. Wait, pause. Am I screen sharing? Oops, my bad. Oh, good, we caught that in time. Okay, so we have a frame, and now we want it to be the same color. Facebook does not use a clean white, they use this off-white. So how are we gonna do that? Go to the right-hand corner, or right-hand side, and you see this fill. You wanna select your frame. Oh, we have a random frame inside. Select your frame, and you wanna click the fill. Pretty intuitive. So it comes up with this huge gradient stuff. I don't know the hex code for this, so we're just gonna use the eyedropper. Ta-da, literally the same color. Perfect. Okay, now let's do the Facebook logo. Or actually, let's do this because recreating a logo is hard. So right now we have another container right here, another square. You can either use the square or the rectangle function, or we can use a frame. I'll just use a square. So press R or click this, click and drag. Okay, obviously that's not the same size, but since we have the screenshot here, we can directly compare it. So let's bring it up here and just like compare, I guess. Width? No, this is a lot bigger. So let's click and drag to be smaller. Height? No, too big. Click and drag up. Okay, that seems like about the same size. Yeah, again, I'm pretty sure this is white, but we can just double check by using the eyedropper. And another thing I noticed is that this one has rounded corners, while ours is completely straight edge. So what you can do here, right here is just like all the dimensions, angles, so on and so forth. So this one right here is the rounded corners. What you can do here is just drag it to change the radius. Or you can change it up here. Let me say it's about like 5 or something. No, like 10. Yeah. So once we've gotten that, everyone following along? Okay. Now we have another rectangle in here. Let's do R again. Oh, now you guys all know my phone number. We'll just pretend that's not my phone number. Again, eyedropper, same thing. I recommend putting in your own phone number. I'll do this. How many? 3, 10. Okay, that looks pretty solid. Oh wait, we forgot to compare the size of our input box for the phone number. Okay, so we have that there. Again, rounded corners. Let's do 10 again. And we have our text. Oh, it's behind. So all you need to do, either right click, bring to the front, or just click this shortcut. Oops, yeah, like that. Let's see if it's the same size of text. No, we need it to be bigger. 14. Instead of choosing the text like this, we can alternatively resize it. So if you just click and drag, it just resizes the box. But if we want to resize the contents of the box within it, just press K, or press down here and press scale, and just bring it out a little bit like that. Okay, that looks pretty accurate. Oops. Now let's bring this inside of our box. And same thing down here. Actually, another thing, instead of just recreating the input box right here, we can probably assume that these are the same size. We can just copy and paste it. There we go, perfect size. Yeah, and then we have a lot of random dots. So in order to do the text, press T, click, or press this right here. Ooh, dots. Okay, we'll just do random stack cow. Yeah, but as you can see, we have an outline of blue. And it's not blue inside. So let's change the fill to be whatever color it is here, probably white. And if we want to change the fill or the stroke, go here, since it's black, we don't want that. Go here. Yeah. That's pretty accurate. Wait, actually it's not. And if you want your fill to be, or your stroke to be bigger, just change it right here. We're gonna go with 1 though. Okay, same thing, login. Change the color to be blue. Get rid of the stroke. To get rid of it, you just need to press this minus button right here. Now it's gone. Login. For today, we won't worry about the typography, type of text it is, but for your homework, you're gonna need to try to find a font that is similar to the actual text font. So I have login, which is bolded. And we have forgot password. Text again, forgot password. Ew, why is it bolded? It's blue. So I believe that this blue is the same one as up here. Let's go with that. Yeah, and to make a line, do this, L for line, or click up here for drop down, line right here. But in order to make it a straight line, you have to hold shift while you click. And once I let go of shift, I can go like this, but once I hold shift, it snaps into an angle. Okay, line. It's really dark, so let's lower the opacity. That would be down here, let's do like 50. Definitely still too dark, but we'll worry about that later. Okay, so for the sake of time, let's move on to this part. You guys get to see my profile picture. Add me on Facebook, I will add you back. Okay, so one other thing that you're required to do in your homework is to create a component, which is basically an element that is consistently used throughout your site. And what components do is that it allows you to change really minor things within each component and allows you to keep the same styles and edit the styles across all components. It's really easy to use and allows for you to have consistency. There's a lot more information on components in the homework spec, so feel free to check that out. But how you make it, or actually, what you notice is that we have two different little boxes here, right? And they're pretty much the exact same. We have text here, some sort of picture right here. And they're the same size as well. So we can just make that into a component. We'll start with a rectangle. Let's look at how wide it's gonna be. Start with a rectangle. And then let's do another rectangle down here for the bottom part. Let's change the color because it's gonna be hard to look at. Okay, and then, yeah, for the sake of using a mask, we can either leave this rectangle to be this size or lower it. This is the size of this rectangle, the picture rectangle. And now let's import an image. Let's say, what's a good image? We'll do coding person image. Wow, this looks great. Import some sort of image of your choice into Figma. All you need to do is copy and paste. Super simple. I've decided to use this as my profile picture. Okay, so now that we have that, let's group this. So you can click those two together and then press right click and the group selection. Now that is grouped into one thing, and then let's make this into a mask. A mask basically allows you to put something into that container with the bounds of its container. Hard to explain, but you'll just see it in motion. Yeah, so let's mask it, use this as a mask. But so what a mask does is it takes everything above it and puts it inside of the mask. But since this is outside of the bounds of the rectangle right here, it won't be seen. So let's just drag it outside. Oh, now we can see it. And now there's nothing on top, so there's just nothing in the mask. So this is group one. Yeah, now let's add this image into the mask. So we'll put it on top. And then we just need to drag it into the mask. Oh, wow, would you look at that? Looks great. Now you have your coder guy with a Facebook profile picture. Okay, let's give him a name. We'll name him Steve, for Steve Jobs. We'll center it. Yeah, so now that this is like pretty much a box. Oh, one last thing. We did not round the corners. Let's round the corners. So this one, oh, as you can see, the corners are only rounded at the edge or the bottom two edges. So let's only round those two. So click here, you can look at which ones to round. Bottom right, let's do like 10. Bottom, this one. Perfect. Now we rounded that one. Now let's round this one. Perfect. Okay, now that we have our group, let's make it into a component. You can either right click, create component, or there's this really nice button up here. Oh, I zoom. Whatever. Perfect. Now that it's purple, it's a component. So let's create the add account one. Or we'll bother doing that a different one later. But so what we have here is a separate component, an instance of a component. So what we can do is change the text, add account. The unfortunate thing about components is that it's really hard to edit placement. But what we can do instead here is that we can make it centered. Or do that. Perfect. And now we don't want a picture of Steve Jobs in there anymore. So what you can do is instead of using an image, we'll do solid. Same thing right there. Oh, it's like pretty much the same color. And then add account, we'll change that color to be this one. All right, now we have Steve, we have add account. As you notice, there's a little bit of an edge around this entire thing. So let's get the entire thing a stroke. Oh, what the? No. Drop shadow. So let's align it, and then, yeah, oh, almost out of time. Same thing, recent logins. We can make this bigger, changing the text. Click your picture or add an account. I don't know what the Facebook font is, but when it comes to logos, when you're redesigning or recreating your site for homework for the logo, you just need to take a screenshot or steal it from online. I don't expect you to recreate the logo. But things like this card, like you don't necessarily need the exact picture. You can just use any picture. But if it's simpler, you could just copy paste from the website itself. But still remember to make components. So we're almost out of time, but yeah, oh yeah, as for like small icons like this, like that's gonna be really hard to make. So I suggest you either copy and paste online for icons, or you download a plugin. I recommend something like Iconify or something like that. But yeah, that's pretty much it. It's not 100% accurate for the sake of time. But for your homework, accuracy is something that you'll be graded on. So try to make your recreation as accurate as possible. And if you have any questions, feel free to ask in the Slack and I will get back to you. And I will likely be hosting office hours sometime next week. Yeah, so that is pretty much it for today's lecture. Does anyone have any questions?
For the final comment, like, do you recommend us to use the design first, or like after we build all the functions?
Yeah, the format of the final project did get a little messed up this semester, so we apologize for that. But generally, you want to create your design first before doing the functions. I suggest, I'm assuming that how a lot of you guys are separating the work is that some front-end people or some back-end people are doing design as like a separate role. So I suggest that the people who want to help out on design will create their wireframe and their layout first, while the other people who are doing the coding, like front end or back end only, they will start on a few functions that are 100% going to be used, like some sort of navigation system or the main database that you'll be using. But before really diving deep into creating your site, a wireframe is definitely the most helpful thing you can get. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I wasn't able to give an Illustrator demo just for the sake of time, but Illustrator is mainly used for graphics, while Figma is mainly used for interface designs. I can show you some full stack. Yeah, I'll show you generally what's being made in Figma and what's generally being made in Illustrator. Yeah, so things like this right here. Yeah, it's being shown. Like these kind of graphics you want to make in Illustrator. But like interfaces, such as like this one right here, like a website, you want to make in Figma. I mean, you can make graphics in Figma and you can make interfaces in Illustrator. Figma is becoming more graphically like inclusive. So if you really want to, Figma is totally fine for graphics. But Illustrator is a lot harder for interfaces. So for your final project, I highly, highly, highly recommend that you get a little familiar with Figma. After this homework, you should be completely good to go to use all the features that you need to for your final project. And of course, if you want to dive deeper into it, there are going to be resources on the website. And if you want more, just feel free to hit me up. Any other questions? Okay, well, yeah, I think that's pretty much it. Your homework is going to be this one, I believe. Yeah, redesigning your favorite website with the spec is all included. It does require you to copy a file. So please say something in the piazza or DM me if that also doesn't work. If it doesn't, I'll figure something out and it'll work out. But yeah, that's pretty much it. If nobody has any other questions, feel free to head out. Oh yeah, word. Anyone have any suggestions? Oh wait, no, I need to stop recording. I have not confirmed that is the word, so don't